Welcome to Brother, the Masonic podcast with Neil Thomas Allen and Taz Bachu.
Hello and welcome to Brother Extra. It is me, Neil Thomas Allen, checking into you on the 8th of July 2020, and I'm joined by my Bezzy mate, Taz. Taz, how are you?
Very well, thank you. You look very summery. I just realised that you're...
Celebrating the Fulham win from yesterday. That's what this is. We've got a retro Fulham kit on. That's what it is.
Your accessories match your shirt, which I...
They do.
It's lit up my life slightly. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, we're cracking on. And we are also joined by our lovely 900-foot tall man, Jack Saunders. Jack, how are you, love?
Yeah, really good. It's quite funny because I was going to mention football as well and say I've really been enjoying having football back, especially on all evening, every evening. It's great,
It's
isn't
wonderful.
it? Although
wonderful.
Crystal Palace aren't doing as good, but
Yeah, I'm not as enamoured and enthralled by football as you two are, as you both know.
Yeah, quite. But that is, do you know what? That's absolutely fine. We move. It's fine. We are pals for other reasons. And one of the main reasons is Freemasonry, and we have a reason to do a Brother Extra for you this evening or morning, depending on when you're listening. We have seen in the past 24 hours a joint statement from the Grand Secretary at the United Grand Lodge of England, the Grand Scribe Ezra at Supreme Grand Chapter, and the Grand Secretary at Mark Mason's Hall, circulate to all the members, and it effectively is a kind of 10-point PDF entitled General Guidance for the Resumption of Masonic Meetings. Guys, I know you've had a chance to read this, and I know there has been further communications along with this sent out. What's your initial thoughts? I mean, we'll go through the points kind of through 1 to 10 and have a discussion, but what's your kind of general thoughts?
I think it's there's a lot of people that will say it's long overdue. I think it's a welcome change. I think it's come at the right time. Probably not the right phrase to use. It's come at a good time. I think if anyone that's listening, if your craft lodges or anything like the craft lodges that I'm involved with, secretaries have already kind of sent details of that 10-point list out. People are throwing around some ideas. So I think actually for certain groups of Masons, I think it's a really good idea. I think there are some perhaps toward the more older end of the spectrum, those Freemasons that perhaps don't have ready access to cars, to personal transport and rely on public transport, where there may be a bit of apprehension in the sense that, you know, is it completely safe to go to a meeting? Are they putting themselves, their families at risk? So I think personally for me, great news, but I think for the wider community, it's, for some people, it's probably bittersweet.
for me, I think it came as quite a big surprise, actually. I think a lot of us had been speculating when we would see a return, and I think most of us didn't anticipate seeing a return this side of Christmas, to be honest. I thought a lot of us thought we was writing this year off and making plans for our September and November and the latter part of the year installation meetings to just sort of roll over into next year. And so really it's come as a big surprise for me.
And I think just to, in case you have been living under a rock or haven't checked your emails, this memo is with regards to the kind of almost end of the Masonic suspension due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which I don't know, for me personally seems that we're almost out of the worst of it, but actually, there's still more work to be done. So I think this is, to me personally, this says to me, we're nearly there. We're getting ready for you guys to come back. I must be honest, I still feel like this is a bit too soon to be welcoming, masses of Freemasons back into Masonic centres and whatnot. But I think that's what this kind of 10-page little plan covers. So I think we should probably, I think maybe what we do is we kind of jump into this and kind of go through it and discuss. So the first point is, so the prevailing government guidance must be followed, in addition to local rules from Masonic halls and companies, etc. So I think that's probably just going over the fact that Masonic centres are probably going to have their own rules, along with what the government tell you. So we've seen that additional emails are saying a maximum, and we'll come to this, maximum numbers of brethren need to be there. And of course, social distancing must be enforced. What's your thoughts on this, guys?
So I think it's, I think one of the things that we sometimes fall into the trap of, and I know we're getting better at it, so well done, the three of us, but we do occasionally talk about London a lot, but we are all provincial Masons as well. And I think I got an email from one of the directors at the Masonic halls in Coventry, and probably very similar to a number of other provincial Masonic meeting places and halls, we dine on site. So there is a kitchen, there is a caterer that comes in, and we have our festive board, upstairs, downstairs, next to the temple. And I think actually what this has done inadvertently is it's forced some Masonic halls to really think about how they operate and think about some of the things that they do offer. So, I know that the dining room has been converted into an extra bar space, so that should brethren want to have a chat, want to, talk a little bit after the meeting, there is space and there is a facility for them to do that, which I think is fantastic. But, if we flip that, I think hundreds of brethren arriving at GQS, head office, Mark Mason's Hall, running down to the bathrooms to wash their hands, which again, I saw on another email. One of the guidelines is common sense will prevail. Hand sanitizer, preferably over, getting people to stand in a line at 20 odd sinks or queue for the loo. So I personally still think that there's a few logistical things to be ironed out, but I do think that, again, I know I'm saying like bittersweet, knife edge, knock-on effects. I think for some Masonic centres in the provinces, it does force the boards and the committees there to really think how they maximise the space and how they operate more efficiently.
I think some halls may not be able to meet this criteria anyway and not be able to open at all. So that'll either mean that lodges can't meet because of that, or they have to temporarily find somewhere else to meet if they want to. But this is all sort of general guidance, and it's just allowing meetings to occur if lodges want them to. It's not, I don't think they're saying that we have to meet now that the suspension is lifted. It still gives us the opportunity to suspend, not delay our own meetings within our own units.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second point is disposable/medical gloves should not be worn. They are far more likely to spread the virus, put my teeth back in, if any is present, unless used correctly, as they are in medical circumstances by trained professionals. Regular hand washing and avoiding touching your face are far more effective. I'm a bit confused by that, because I've seen a lot of people out and about using medical gloves, and presume that, after you have got off the train on your way to said meeting venue, disposing of them is probably quite wise. I mean, I'm a bit confused as to why this is.
I have a strong opinion that's probably going to make me unpopular with a few people on the wearing of plastic gloves on public transport and out and about. I just don't understand why or how you're protecting your skin if you wear plastic gloves whilst wearing t-shirts and shorts, and letting those particles that you're not wanting to get on your hands get on other parts of your skin. Or you hold your phone with the plastic gloves, but you dispose of the plastic gloves, but you don't dispose of your phone case. I have to wear a mask when I'm traveling in and around London, and when I'm popping to the office on the odd occasion now, which in itself is a nightmare because I sweat profusely without masks on. But like, just wash your hands and disinfect the back of your phone. And I think it's a sensible thing. And I think I saw another email. I'll shut up because Jack's the medical professional, so he can probably educate us and school us a little bit, right? I think I saw another email saying that the wearing of the cotton gloves that we usually wear is encouraged, because you can throw those in the wash and it doesn't live on material. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional. It doesn't live on material as long as it lives on plastic. But yeah, that's my stance on plastic gloves.
Well,
so
clearly, the the grand secretaries and grand scribe Ezras agree with you.
Yeah, great.
Where the wearing of gloves, it actively discourages good hand hygiene. It's kind of like, it's like you feel like you're wearing body armor on your hands, so you feel like you can go around and touch everything without washing your hands. If you're going to lots of different places, if you're not wearing gloves, you're going to sanitize your hands, you're going to wash your hands. But if you're wearing gloves, people seem to feel protected, and they don't change their gloves and they don't sanitize their hands in between. So actually the cross contamination is a lot higher. I think in this country we're quite keen on gloves still, but I think it's a bit of an old-fashioned thing. I think in a lot of countries, I think Australia is one, where in hospitals, nurses and doctors tend to not wear gloves when they're dealing with patients, unless they're going to be exposed to sort of bodily fluids or something that's more of an aseptic thing, because the nurses and doctors will wash their hands before and after patient contact, and that's a better form of infection control than the wearing of gloves. So it's better for us not to wear gloves because we'll wash our hands and clean our hands much more better.
There you go.
Taz's lockdown advice: treat yourself to some nice hand moisturizer if you're worried about your hands getting dry. Look after your skin.
All right. Well, listen, we need to burn through these. So I think 4 and 5 probably should be taken together, which is nobody, particularly elderly or vulnerable members, should feel coerced into attending meetings, irrespective of their office. And then point 5 is the current absolute maximum of members allowed to physically attend a meeting in England will be 30.
That's point 6.
May apply elsewhere.
Yeah, I think we've got different lists then, because...
Oh, well, I never. Okay, well, this is my list, and we're going to stick to this one, lads. Okay.
So point four on our list is face masks. Face masks.
Yeah, I haven't got this one. I haven't got face masks. So face masks can... Yeah, okay, we'll include this. So face masks can be worn if you feel necessary. So I think an important thing on this is not feeling pressured to attend meetings. I think that's a really, really important thing, because actually both me and you are members of an OSM unit, which is due to meet on the 28th of this month, actually, in a couple of weeks. And when I got the summons and heard that it was actually due to take place, I actually did feel a little bit kind of like pressured, because I do feel it's a bit too soon. So yeah, if anyone's kind of watching or listening to this, I just don't want you guys to feel like, despite whether you're elderly or vulnerable or not, please don't feel like you have to go to this meeting if you're in office or anything like that, because it's very, very important that your health absolutely positively comes first.
I completely agree. I think you go if you feel safe. If I know certainly from our craft lodge, there's already been discussions around some of our older brethren and brethren that were required by the NHS and the government to shield for a prolonged period of time. they're not comfortable getting on the train or on the underground. So no, I completely agree. I think the cynic in me is there's a great business opportunity out there for somebody to create square and compass masks.
If they haven't been already, of
I
course.
will throw that idea into the ether. I only wish I could sew, because that'd be a good little charity fundraiser there. And obviously for the different kind of side orders and appendant orders, you can have different coloured masks. I mean, there is
Awfully nice.
It's a great business plan there. So I'll
if
give
anybody
that one.
from 86 St James is listening,
Yeah.
Taz has just given you the ultimate
It's gold.
little earner.
Can you tell it's been a long week and it's only Wednesday? Huh? No, I agree. I think it's like the first point. Common sense needs to prevail.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate that in this OSM meeting that you would be doing some ritual, or
yes.
do you, yeah?
And that's my worry. I think I don't know. For me, it just feels a bit too soon. I'm sure that there are several members that are absolutely keen as mustard to crack on, and get involved. However, I don't know. 2 weeks from now, when there's still, confirmed cases and deaths and everything like that, I'm just feeling a bit strange about the whole thing, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, there has been talk over email. I'm not sure if you were copied into this email because it was for the people doing their second degree in the OSM.
Mm-hmm.
But I think somebody that is also being kind of taking part in that ceremony and getting the secondary degree conferred on them has offered face visors. And actually, I would feel safer in 2 weeks' time wearing a face visor.
Sure.
But I think if we were to look ahead and if our craft lodge were to run their installation meeting on the intended date in September, I'd probably feel safer not having. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting.
Because that's 2 months out, right? And I think.
Yeah. I just think it's a bit too soon at the moment. That's my concern. Okay, let's take point 6 and 7. This sounds like a lodge meeting now. We're going to take point 6 and 7. So in the event of a meeting being oversubscribed, the lodge /chapter / or equivalent unit should decide who attends and should do so equitably. And the 7th one is members who are unwell or have recently been unwell and those who are under advice to self-isolate must not attend meetings. I think 7 is completely common sense. I don't think we need to say much about that, to be honest. If you're not feeling very well, please don't go and infect other people potentially. But number 6 is very interesting. How on earth, if you have a busy lodge and you have more than 30 people wanting to attend, how do you tackle that?
Again, it's common sense, right? I appreciate that there are some lodges that are particularly that are exponentially bigger than the majority of other lodges across the country, right? So I think it's kind of I want to say need to know, but that's not the need to do. People need to be there that are directly involved in the ceremony in some way. So if you're doing an initiation or a passing, it may be that actually you restrict the number of members and invite that candidate's friends, close family, proposer, second, and make sure that they're there. But I think it kind of ties into 30 people in the lodge room, right? It's just for safety.
I think on your point, what you were just saying about inviting said, if you are doing a ceremony and you have the potential to invite people to enhance their experience or be there to make said ceremony, said experience even more special, I think that should take precedence, because at the end of the day, I think the most important thing about this whole plan to get back, and I'm hoping you guys are going to agree, is that at the end of the day, the candidate experience is absolutely paramount. We don't want to take away any of the impact or enjoyment of Freemasonry from the candidate.
Yeah.
I think a lot of lodges will decide that they don't want to do any degree work until some of these changes are removed. I think there's a lot of the symbolic reason for parts of the ceremony, and we've seen some alterations for the current guidance, and I think it will really affect a lot of the candidate experience. So I think a lot of lodges will choose not to do it until they can.
I also think sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, without directly mentioning what changes or what substitutes have been put in, some of them strike me as very strange, very, very strange indeed. And I do, unfortunately, I know that the Board of General Purposes at UGLE set a team out to go and come up with these, and they worked very hard on it. And I know that a lot of people are going to appreciate it a lot. But some of them are just a bit odd. And
Gets rid of the magic.
It does get rid of the magic, and it gets rid of the experience. So I don't want to really directly mention them because of obvious reasons, but I agree with you, Jack. I think the experience has to be paramount. And if you do get asked for whatever reason, be that age, vulnerability, oversubscribed, I don't think you should take immediate offence, because I think that is that's going to get into lodge politics, and I think it's going to be a very, very slippery slope.
Once again, this is all just sort of guidance, and although we have to abide by the guidance, we don't have to do the ceremonies yet, unless for some reason there is a time pressing thing. And I think it would be nice if you could have as many people there as possible as well. So it's a bit of a joint thing.
Yeah, I think it's a catch-22. Like I like numbers. You all probably know that I like numbers and adding up and various bits and pieces. But if you had a lodge that had officers that didn't double collar and don't double hat, that's on the basis that you have 3 stewards. That's 17 people anyway in every single office. Collared roles. So that's 13 others. Most lodges don't have that luxury in the sense of having 17 people to do things and be in those progressive and non-progressive offices. But I do think it's a catch-22, because there'll be a number of first-time Masons, and I've seen this in a number of group chats. I think we've spoken about it in our brother chats and various catch-ups that we've had over the time period. That is it fair to install a new master with a greater degree of uncertainty? And I think there are some people that are erring on the side of caution, saying, well, no, people are going to continue. There have been some lodges, like my craft lodge in Coventry, where the master unfortunately hasn't had any meetings. So I think he'll be staying on another year. And then there's the flip side of that, which is, well, actually, we don't have to pay for dispensations. UGLE, Province, Met Grand Lodge are dealing with things relatively quickly to enable people to run emergency meetings, to get people into chairs, onto various other offices. So I think, I don't know, I'm torn. I think whilst I agree with Jack in the sense of the degree work, I do think there are some fundamental ceremonies that, like the installation or even the proclamation of a master continuing for the second year, that type of stuff absolutely has to happen. But I do think, actually, again, I keep saying common sense, whoever is in charge of route maps and guidance, that individual in that lodge will need to just make sure that there is a bit of magic and you do create that atmosphere, taking into account some of the changes and the restrictions.
So I'm gonna stop you there, because that's a really great segue for the next ones, and this is probably the last 3, and I'll do these all before we kind of wrap up. But 8, for the time being, there is to be no singing in meetings. So that's 8. Number 9, there are to be no festive boards, and number 10, at all times, common sense must prevail when considering the resumption of meetings. And this was signed by Dr. David Staples and Ryan A. Williams, Grand Secretary, Grand Scribe Ezra, and Grand Secretary of Mark Mason's Hall, UGLE, and Supreme Grand Chapter, respectively. No singing and no festive boards. This is kind of why I'm thinking it's too early to go back. That is, for a lot of people who aren't ritualists, who aren't, you know, the diehard, you know, get your nose in the book Masons, this is the bit that they enjoy. I just think it's too early based on these guys.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think it's very, very interesting. I like ritual, so there's going to be no excuse for shoddy ritual.
But no festive
forwards.
board is quite sad.
Yeah,
I think it's,
especially if you was to do an initiation. One of the big parts of your initiation is that you get to sit on the top table next to the master, and
exactly
whichever sort of
first and only time.
Yeah. And it's a big part of it when you look out and you do your sort of little speech to say thank you to everyone. It's a massive part of it. And that would be a shame to miss out on.
But then I also think if you look at the guidelines and the 10 points, this isn't it's not because they're being harsh. I think they have taken into account the entirety of the UK. You know, there are some lodges that meet in restaurants, in which case, I think with our OSM, I think one of the emails or part of the summons were that the restaurant under where we meet has offered socially distanced dining, but it won't, you know, there won't be toasts, there won't be fire, there won't be all of this the other stuff there. But, you know, further out into the provinces, there may just not be that option. You know, if your festive board is everybody going to the pub and having pie and mash, that's just not an option, because those premises have to do table service and you have to fill out the little chit to say where you live and where you've been and all of that stuff. But also it probably discourages those Masonic halls that have in-house catering or dining rooms from literally packing people into a room the size of a shoebox.
So in kind of summary, what's your thoughts about these 10 points? Is this too soon to be going back or not, guys?
I think the 10 points are actually really good. I think the guidance is good guidance for the situation that we're in. And I think they've had to make a statement based on the current guidance, and it works really well what they're offering. The government guidance has been moving fairly quickly as well. So hopefully in another month or 2 months, because many lodges are on their summer break now. So we won't, my Essex Lodge, we won't be going back till September. And potentially by September, we could have the next 10 points where things have been adjusted. So
absolutely,
for the situation right now, I think these are really succinct and good guidance for us all to continue and do business as we need to.
Yeah, agreed. I think for a lot of people, it just, I mean, I'm going to be a bit of a geek. That's been on the desk today because I've looked stuff up because I don't know what we do and where we sit. So I think actually, you know, is it too soon? I'm not sure. I agree with a lot of the stuff that Jack's saying, that this is just getting people ready for a resumption of activities, and that might be some emergency meetings at the tail end of August once people have got ducks in a row. But I think the positive is it's forced somebody that's probably opened that light blue book once, twice, looked at the pictures occasionally to really kind of get my nose stuck in and understand some of the logic and the reasoning behind what we do and why we do it.
Well, I wanted to do a very quick kind of summary of that, and I think we have done that. So yeah, I think that when we start to go back, I think if these are followed, then I think we are going to get some form of Freemasonry back. I don't think it'll be the same old Freemasonry, but I do think it will be something close to what we absolutely love. So I think we're going to bring everything to a roundup there. So I want to thank you guys for listening to this Brother Extra on the resumption of UGLE and Supreme Grand Chapter and Mark Mason's Hall other order units. Thank you so much for listening, and we will be back next week with our next edition of Brother Beyond the Craft. So guys, thank you so much for jumping on, watching and listening. We are Brother, you are too. We'll speak to you soon.